Welcome, dear friends, to another peaceful journey into the realm of ancient tales. Tonight, as the world quiets around us, we'll drift into a Norse myth featuring the goddess Freyja and her clever devotee, Ottar. Imagine a world where disputes are settled at a grand assembly called the Thing, and a little magic can help uncover forgotten truths. Sometimes, things aren't as they seem, and a helping hand or hoof can make all the difference. But just before we begin, if our stories help you drift off, please tap the like and subscribe buttons. In my channel, you can find Norse, Greek, and Egyptian mythology tales. Comment and tell me which myth you'd like to hear next. Your support helps us craft and shape more calm stories for fellow night owls. And now let your shoulders sink softly into the mattress and your mind drift into today's tale. The sun dipped, painting the sky in rose and gold twilight. A gentle breeze whispered through ancient trees, carrying the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. This was Hildisvíni's rest, Ottar's home, his sanctuary. Generations of his family had tilled these fields, nestled in a valley cradled by rolling hills, with a clear stream meandering through. Ottar stood by the stream, his calloused hands speaking of labor, his weathered face softened by kind eyes. He was a man of simple pleasures, finding joy in work and solace in the seasons. The humble farmhouse, built of stout timber with a thatched roof, promised warmth. A flourishing garden nearby spoke of quiet abundance. He loved this land deeply, a living legacy echoing his ancestors. Straightening, he sighed contentedly. Day's work done, livestock settled, fields tended. He sought a moment for devotion. Ottar walked to a grove of ancient oaks, his sacred space. At its heart stood a simple, flat stone altar, ringed by vibrant wildflowers. He knelt, bowing his head in reverence. His devotion was to Freyja, Vanir goddess of love, beauty, fertility, and also war and death. Ottar honored her gentler aspects, provider and protector. He sprinkled freshly harvested grain on the stone, then poured a warm milk libation. "Lady Freyja," he murmured, "my thanks for this day, for the bounty, for my family's health. Watch over us, guide our hands, keep us safe." He lingered, peace settling as crickets chirped and an owl hooted. Rising, he turned towards the farmhouse's warm glow, his evening meal awaiting. This was his cherished, predictable life, devoid of grand ambitions or vast riches. His greatest treasure was land, his greatest joy devotion, his greatest hope peace. But peace was fragile. A shadow gathered, threatening his quiet world. Hreidmar, a chieftain from the next valley, was known for his vast lands, great wealth, and cold, greedy heart. He coveted what others possessed, cunning and ruthless, twisting laws, and preying on the vulnerable. Ottar had dismissed whispers of Hreidmar's expanding influence, believing his small, isolated farm held no strategic value. He was wrong. A week ago, a rider bearing Hreidmar's insignia delivered a summons. Ottar was to appear at the chieftain's hall. He went, of course, defiance unthinkable. The journey was long, filled with foreboding. Hreidmar's hall was imposing, heavy with power. The chieftain sat on a raised dais, his cold, calculating eyes assessing, then dismissing Ottar. "Ottar," Hreidmar boomed, "you are here, good. Let us waste no time." "My lord," Ottar replied, steadying his voice, "you sent for me. I am here to obey." Hreidmar leaned forward, a sneer playing on his lips. "Obedience is commendable, farmer, especially when one is about to lose everything." Ottar's blood ran cold. "Lose everything, my lord? I do not understand." Hreidmar chuckled, a harsh sound. "Oh, you will. Your farm, Hildisvíni's Rest, it is not truly yours." Disbelief warred with panic. "But my lord, it has been in my family for generations." "Indeed," Hreidmar said smoothly. "Long enough, perhaps, for true ownership to be forgotten, for an old law to be overlooked." He gestured to a scribe, who unrolled a yellowed, ancient scroll. "This is a decree, centuries old. It concerns abandoned lands, unclaimed territories, specific types of soil. It specifically mentions land suitable for a chieftain's personal hunting grounds. But my land is farmed. It is not abandoned. It has never been used for hunting grounds." "Ah, but that is where you are mistaken," Hreidmar said, his smile predatory. "The law is clear. If land suitable for certain purposes remains unclaimed by a ruling chieftain for a specific period, it reverts to the chieftain's domain. Your ancestors, it seems, neglected a crucial formality. They failed to formally claim the land under the new chieftainship of the time. A small oversight, perhaps, but a significant one. My lord, this cannot be right. My family has paid taxes. We have sworn fealty. We have records." "Records," Hreidmar scoffed. "Paper crumbles, farmer, memories fade, but the law endures. And this law, Ottar, was recently rediscovered by my own diligent scribes. A forgotten clause, a dusty decree, but legally binding nonetheless." He paused, eyes glinting. "The land, it states, becomes the property of the current chieftain. That Ottar would be me." "No," Ottar cried, voice hoarse. "You cannot. This is my home. This is my family's legacy." "Legacy?" Hreidmar scoffed. "A quaint notion, but irrelevant to the law. You have 1 week, Ottar. 1 week to vacate. 1 week to gather your meager belongings. 1 week to leave Hildisvíni's Rest. If you resist, I will send my men, and they will be far less gentle." The chieftain leaned back, a smug expression on his face. "Consider this a kindness, farmer. I am giving you fair warning." Ottar stood stunned, his world crumbling. He stumbled from the hall, Hreidmar's men's laughter echoing. He rode home in a daze, the familiar landscape alien. He had spent the last week in anguish. No one dared defy Hreidmar. Ottar searched family chests for a loophole, finding nothing but faded tax records and simple deeds, meaningless to Hreidmar. Now, as twilight deepened, the full weight pressed down. Tomorrow, the week was up. Tomorrow, Hreidmar's men would come. He would lose everything. He walked back to the sacred grove. The air was cool, still. Stars pricked the velvet sky. He knelt before the altar, shoulders slumped. This time, his offering was tears. Hot tears streamed, falling onto the stone. His chest ached. He felt utterly helpless, abandoned. "Freyja," he whispered, voice broken. "Oh, Lady Freyja, my goddess, my protector, I am lost. I am undone." He clenched his fists. "This man, Raidmer, he is unjust. He uses lies. He uses twisted laws. He seeks to steal what is rightfully mine." He looked up, desperate. "I have served you faithfully. Have I done something wrong? Have I offended you?" Silence answered. He felt profound loneliness, crushing futility. "What am I to do?" he pleaded, barely a whisper. "Where am I to go? My ancestors rest here. My heart is rooted in this soil. I cannot leave. I cannot surrender." He placed his hands flat on the cold stone, pressing his forehead against them. He prayed with every fiber, a desperate cry from his soul. "Show me the way, Lady. Give me strength. Give me guidance. Do not let this happen. Do not let him win. Do not let him take Hildisvíni's rest." He stayed for a long time. The night deepened, stars shone. He felt no comfort, heard no whisper, only his own ragged breath. He rose slowly, limbs stiff, spirit heavy. He walked back to the farmhouse. The light from the windows seemed dimmer, the warmth colder. He entered, the familiar scent of wood smoke, soon to be gone. He sat by the dying fire, wrapped in a blanket, feeling the coldness and emptiness within. He had nowhere else to turn. His last, desperate plea was to his goddess. He had poured out his heart. Now he waited for a sign, for a miracle, or for the inevitable, the coming dawn. The arrival of Raidmer's men. The end of Hildisvíni's rest. The air shimmered, and a soft, golden light pulsed. A sweet fragrance filled the clearing as wildflowers unfurled, their scent enveloping Ottar. He drew a deep breath, calming his heart as a tall, graceful figure coalesced. Ottar knew instantly. This was Freyja. She wore a gown of midnight blue, tiny silver stars glittering upon it. Around her neck, Brisingamen gleamed, its jewels pulsing with inner light. Her eyes, the color of a summer sky, met Ottar's, holding ancient wisdom and compassion. A gentle smile touched her lips, easing his fear. He remained kneeling. "Rise, Ottar," her voice resonated like wind chimes. "There is no need for such humility." Ottar slowly rose, keeping his gaze low. The goddess stepped closer, her movements fluid like a dancer's. The forest seemed to hold its breath. "I have heard your plea," she continued, her voice soothing. "Your devotion has reached me." Ottar felt a blush rise, overwhelmed. He simply nodded. Freyja's gaze swept the meager camp, lingering on Ottar's face. She saw the worry and fatigue, understanding his desperation. "Your plight is clear," she stated empathetically. "The thing approaches quickly." Ottar nodded again. "Tell me more of this injustice," she urged gently. Ottar took a deep breath, gathering his courage. He looked directly at her and began to speak, recounting his family's land, the false accusations and his cousin Anganter's treachery. His voice trembled slightly with raw anger. He described the thing, the great assembly, where disputes were settled and justice sought. But influence could sway it, wealth could corrupt. Anganter had both, Ottar neither. His only strength was truth, often fragile against powerful men. Freyja listened intently, a flicker of indignation crossing her serene features. She understood mortal greed and folly, but this concerned her loyal devotee. This injustice would not stand. So you seek justice, she summarized thoughtfully. At the thing before all. Ottar confirmed it, a surge of hope rising. Yes, Lady Freyja. He wondered how a goddess could intervene, knowing direct meddling was rare. Freyja began to pace, her steps light and silent. The light of Brisingamen painted the forest in gold as she considered Ottar's dire situation. He lacked standing, influence, and powerful allies. His case seemed hopeless by mortal standards, but Freyja was not mortal. She paused before him, her gaze piercing. Direct intervention is difficult, she explained regretfully. Mortal affairs are often fraught. Ottar's heart sank, but he understood. However, she continued, a mischievous spark entering her eyes. There are other ways. Ottar looked up eagerly, hope rekindled. Freyja smiled, a wide, brilliant smile. The thing values strength, she stated firmly. It values presence. It values a clear voice. Ottar nodded slowly, understanding his disadvantages. But what if you had these? She proposed, her eyes twinkling. Ottar was confused. I propose a transformation, she announced triumphantly. Ottar's eyes widened. A transformation. You will become Hildisvini, she declared resonantly. My sacred boar, Ottar gasped softly. A boar. This was unexpected. Freyja seemed to read his thoughts. Her smile softened. I understand your surprise, she reassured him. But hear me out, Ottar, he nodded, still processing. Hildisvini is no ordinary boar, she explained, filled with pride. He is swift. He is strong. He is wise. She gestured, and a faint golden aura shimmered around her. He is my companion, my protector. Ottar listened intently. At the thing, she continued more seriously. A boar holds special significance, especially my asterisk boar. Ottar began to understand. A boar was a powerful symbol. He represents courage, she stated. He represents ferocity. He represents truth. She looked at him intently. And as Hildisvini, you will be heard. Ottar felt a stirring within him. Think of it, Ottar, she urged. No one will dismiss you. No one will ignore you. She stepped closer. Your voice will carry weight. Your arguments will resonate. The idea began to take root. It was audacious, daring, brilliant. But Lady Freyja, Ottar hesitated. How will I speak? As a boar. Freyja chuckled softly. Your mind will remain your own, she assured him. Your thoughts will be clear. She touched his forehead gently. You will communicate, not with words, perhaps, but with presence, with understanding. The magic will allow it, she explained confidently. You will comprehend all, and you will be understood. Ottar felt awe. And what of my form? He asked. Your true self will be safe, she promised, smiling reassuringly. Hidden within Hildisvini. This is a temporary transformation, a means to an end. Ottar felt relief. The transformation itself, she began softly. It will be wondrous. You will feel power. You will feel strength. Your skin will shimmer, she described hypnotically, with golden bristles. Your tusks will gleam like polished ivory. Your senses will sharpen, she continued. You will smell the earth. You will hear the whispers of the wind. He could almost feel it, the heightened senses, the raw power. You will run with the wind, she whispered. Feel the earth beneath your hooves. You will be free, unburdened by human worries. Ottar felt a thrill, and at the thing, she emphasized, her voice firm. You will stride in, with purpose, with authority. No one will question your right to be there. Ottar imagined it. The symbolism alone, she explained, of my sacred companion, appearing at the thing. It will speak volumes, more than any words. Ottar saw the genius of it. It is a risk, I know, she admitted gently. A bold undertaking. She paused, giving him time to choose. But it is your best chance, Ottar. Perhaps your only one. Ottar looked at her, her eyes compassionate, her wisdom evident. He had sought her help, and she had offered a path. I trust you, Lady Freyja, he said, his voice steady, his decision made. I will do as you bid. He bowed his head slightly, ready for whatever it entailed. A soft light began to emanate from Freyja, surrounding them both. The air grew warm, and a gentle, resonant hum vibrated through the ground. Freyja raised her hands slowly, golden motes of light swirling around Ottar, settling upon his skin. A tingling sensation began, spreading through his body. It was exhilarating, 1,000 tiny needles bringing warmth. His skin stretched and softened. Golden hair sprouted, coarse and thick. His bones shifted, spine lengthening, shoulders broadening. His hands and feet transformed into strong, cloven hooves, connecting him to the earth. A warmth spread through his face. His nose elongated, jaw broadened, and teeth sharpened into powerful, gleaming tusks. His ears grew larger, twitching, sensitive to every sound. His vision sharpened, colors becoming more vibrant, details standing out. He saw the world anew. The transformation was swift, yet profound. Every sensation was magnified. He felt a surge of raw, untamed power coursing through his new form. Finally, the golden light faded. Ottar stood transformed. He was no longer a man. He was Hildisvini, Freyja's sacred boar. His golden bristles shimmered, his tusks gleamed. He felt mighty. He looked at Freyja, her eyes glowing with pride. A gentle smile touched her lips. He wanted to thank her, but had no words. Instead, a low rumble emerged from his throat, a deep grunt conveying gratitude and awe. Freyja nodded, understanding. "Go now, Hildisvini," she commanded, her voice soft but authoritative. To the thing, she gestured towards the rising sun. "Your journey awaits." Ottar felt a primal urge to run. He pawed the ground once, then turned. With a surge of newfound strength, he galloped into the forest, towards the thing, towards his justice. The golden boar vanished into the morning mist, leaving only the scent of spring and the whisper of a goddess. Freyja, disguised as an old woman with a gnarled oak staff, walked steadily through the ancient forest. The air, cool and damp, carried the scent of pine needles and damp earth, a fragrance that always soothed her, reminding her of the deeper, wilder magic of the 9 realms. Sunlight dappled through the thick canopy of ancient oaks and towering pines, creating shifting patterns on the moss-covered ground beneath her worn leather boots. Each step was deliberate, measured, a testament to the long journey behind them and the longer one ahead. Beside her trotted Ottar, a magnificent boar with shimmering golden bristles that caught the fleeting rays of light, making him seem almost ethereal. His soft snorts, puffs of warm air against her leg, and gentle nudges conveyed a silent question, one Freyja understood perfectly. The path was long, their mission vital and risky, fraught with peril and uncertainty. Yet the deep thrum of purpose resonated between them, a silent pact. They emerged from the thinning forest into rolling, heather-covered hills. The sudden expanse of sky above, a vast canvas of azure, felt liberating after the close embrace of the woods. A gentle breeze, carrying the faint, sweet scent of blossoming heather and wild thyme, whispered through the tall grasses, making them ripple like waves across the landscape. Freyja paused, her gaze sweeping across the vista. She observed the simple life around them, distant farmsteads, their smoke curling lazily from stone chimneys into the clear air, the faint bleating of sheep carried on the breeze, the distant, joyful sound of children's laughter. It was a world of quiet normalcy, a stark contrast to the high stakes of their journey. Ottar, more than a mere beast, twitched his powerful nose, his senses keen for the scent of injustice, a subtle, often overlooked scent that only those deeply attuned to the world could discern. Freyja's thoughts, however, turned to the thing, the sacred gathering where disputes were settled, laws upheld, and fates decided. Ottar needed undeniable evidence for his claim, a claim rooted deeply in his very lineage, a claim that would challenge the powerful and the unjust. As dusk approached, painting the sky in hues of fiery orange and soft violet, they made a simple camp in a secluded copse of slender birch trees. The white bark of the birches glowed softly in the fading light, their delicate leaves rustling like whispered secrets. The air grew cooler, carrying the crispness of the approaching night. Ottar, a silent, watchful companion, settled close by, his large body a comforting presence. He ate the dried fruit and cured meat Freyja offered, his movements deliberate and unhurried. The crackle of their small fire seemed to amplify the profound silence of the hills, broken only by the chirping of crickets and the distant hoot of an owl. Under the glittering tapestry of stars, each one a pinprick of light in the inky blackness, Freyja's mind raced. The thing was approaching, a critical deadline, and she needed not just proof, but irrefutable proof, ancestral threads woven so tightly they could not be unraveled. Whispers of Groa, a Vrolva of immense power and ancient wisdom, living in a secluded mountain cave, stirred a deep intuition within Freyja. Groa knew lineages, forgotten names, the very warp and weft of time itself. This detour, though arduous and consuming of precious time, felt not merely necessary, but divinely ordained. It was as if the Norns themselves had whispered Groa's name into her ear. The next morning, the air was crisp and invigorating, carrying the scent of dew-kissed stone. They headed towards the towering, mist-shrouded peaks that rose like ancient gods from the earth. The terrain grew progressively more challenging with each step, rocky and steep, the path often dissolving into loose scree or treacherous outcroppings. Freyja, despite her disguise, moved with an agile grace, her staff finding purchase on the uneven ground. Ottar, with his powerful legs and unerring balance, navigated the treacherous slopes with ease, his golden bristles seeming to shimmer with inner strength. They pressed on, driven by the relentless purpose that pulsed between them, a shared heartbeat of determination. Higher up, the trees became sparse, gnarled and wind-battered, clinging precariously to the rock faces, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching for the sky. The silence became profound, a deep, resonant hush broken only by the rhythmic whisper of the wind, an ancient hum that seemed to carry the very breath of the mountains. After hours of relentless climbing, muscles aching and breath coming in ragged gasps, Freyja spotted a faint wisp of smoke, a mere thread against the vastness, curling from a hidden cleft in a secluded, bowl-shaped valley far below. A surge of relief, warm and welcome, washed over her. This must be the place. The journey had tested their resolve, but it had not broken it. Descending into the valley, the air grew heavy, almost viscous, with a strange, ancient energy that prickled the skin and resonated deep within the bones. It was the palpable presence of raw magic, of time itself slowed and deepened. Twisted trees, their limbs contorted into fantastical shapes by centuries of wind and elemental forces, and strange, luminescent mosses lined their path to the overgrown cleft. The very ground felt alive, humming with unseen power. Ottar, with a powerful nudge of his snout, pushed aside thick, tenacious vines that clung to the rock face like ancient serpents, revealing the dark, gaping maw of a cave. A chill, not of cold, but of immense, concentrated ancient power, emanated from within, raising goosebumps on Freyja's arms. It was a sensation, both awe-inspiring and slightly unsettling, a testament to the Vrolva's potent magic. Freyja took a deep breath, steeling herself, and stepped forward bravely, her staff tapping softly against the stone floor. Ottar followed close behind, his breath warm against her back, a silent guardian. Inside, the narrow, winding passage opened abruptly into a spacious, echoing cavern. The air, though still heavy, was now warm and infused with the rich, earthy scent of dried herbs and wood smoke. Flickering torches, their flames dancing like tiny spirits, cast shifting shadows that played across the cavern walls, illuminating an intricate tapestry of carvings, ancient symbols, runes of power, and mythical beasts caught in eternal motion. Bones bleached white with age, and bundles of fragrant dried herbs hung from the ceiling on slender threads, swaying gently in the subtle drafts. Strange, crystalline stones embedded in the rock walls glowed faintly with an inner light, casting an ethereal luminescence that mingled with the torchlight. In the very center of this mystical space, beside a crackling fire that cast a warm, inviting glow, sat Groa. She was ancient and frail, her body bent by the weight of countless years, yet an undeniable aura of power shimmered around her. Her white hair, as fine as spun moonlight, was intricately woven with beads of amber and polished river stones, each one a silent testament to her long life and deep wisdom. Her eyes, when Freyja finally met them, were deep pools of knowing, ancient and unfathomable, containing the wisdom of millennia. She stirred a bubbling pot over the fire, the rich, fragrant steam rising in swirling tendrils, filling the air with the scent of herbs and something else, something subtly magical. Groa, without so much as a glance in their direction, continued stirring the contents of her pot with a gnarled wooden spoon, the rhythmic clink against the earthenware pot the only sound in the cavern. Freyja waited patiently, a deep respect for the Verlva's power holding her still. She felt the immense, ancient power radiating from Groa, a silent hum that vibrated through the very stone of the cave. Finally, with a slow, deliberate movement, Groa lifted her head. Her gaze, piercing and direct, seemed to strip away Freyja's disguise with effortless ease, seeing beyond the illusion to the goddess beneath. "You are far from your halls, Vanadis," she croaked, her voice like the rustling of dry leaves, ancient and brittle, yet carrying an undeniable authority. Freyja bowed slightly, a gesture of profound respect, acknowledging the Verlva's recognition. "I seek your counsel, Groa. Your wisdom is legendary, your knowledge unparalleled." Groa's ancient eyes, sharp and discerning, shifted from Freyja to Ottar, who stood quietly beside her, his golden eyes fixed on the Verlva with an almost human intensity. "And this one," she murmured, a faint, knowing smile playing on her lips. "He carries a heavy past, a burden of injustice." Freyja confirmed, her voice low and earnest. "He seeks justice, his rightful place among his kin. His lineage, his very identity, is disputed by those who would see him cast aside." Groa sighed, a sound that seemed to carry the weariness of ages. "The threads of fate are tangled indeed, Vanadis. Histories are lost, names forgotten, and truth often buried under layers of deceit." Freyja countered, her voice firm. "Yet, you remember, Groa. You hold the threads, you see the patterns, you know the forgotten names." Groa's eyes, deep and knowing, held a challenge, a silent test of Freyja's resolve. "Knowledge comes at a cost, Vanadis. Always." Freyja insisted, her voice resonating with conviction. "My purpose is true, Groa. It is for justice, for truth, for a noble soul who has been wronged. Groa studied them both, her gaze lingering on Ottar, as if seeing beyond his current form to his true essence. Then, with a slow, deliberate nod, she beckoned, gesturing to a small alcove near the fire, piled high with soft furs and woven blankets. Enter, then. Make yourselves comfortable. Freyja and Ottar settled by the fire, its warmth a comforting balm against the lingering chill of the mountain. Groa, with a graceful movement, offered Freyja a small, carved wooden cup filled with a warm, fragrant brew. Freyja took a sip. It was subtly potent, a blend of herbs and something else, something that quieted the mind and sharpened the senses. Tell me, Groa began, her voice softer now, less brittle. What is the dispute that brings a goddess and her companion to my humble cave? Freyja recounted the tale of Anganter's injustice, his covetousness and deceit, Ottar's plight, and the urgent need for irrefutable proof at the upcoming thing. Groa listened intently, her ancient eyes fixed on the dancing flames of the fire, as if reading the story within their shifting patterns. The claim of lineage, she mused, her voice a low hum. It is the strongest claim of all. It speaks to identity, to belonging, to the very fabric of society. Freyja leaned forward, her hope rekindled by Groa's understanding. That is precisely why we are here, Groa. You know the names, the forgotten lines, the ancient connections. Groa closed her eyes, her lips moving in a soft, almost inaudible chant, a melody in an ancient tongue that seemed to resonate with the very stones of the cavern. As she chanted, visions, faint at first but growing stronger, flickered in Freyja's mind. Images of Ottar's ancestors, not as abstract figures, but as vibrant, living beings, proud kings with flowing beards, fierce warriors with gleaming axes, wise queens adorned with ancient jewels. They were a lineage of power and prestige, a history that pulsed with life. Groa opened her eyes, and Freyja saw a deep sadness, an ancient sorrow in their depths. The threads are indeed tangled, Vanadis, as I said, but not broken. There is a way to unravel them, to make whole what has been torn. How, Freyja urged, her voice barely a whisper, afraid to break the fragile moment. Groa's voice was clear, firm, resonating with the authority of deep knowledge. The ancestral recitation. It must be spoken aloud. At the thing, every name, every connection, back to the very beginning, to the first ancestor who walked this earth. Freyja understood immediately. This was the ultimate proof, a living testament to Ottar's rightful place. But who will recite it, Groa? She asked, her gaze falling on Ottar, who watched them both intently. His golden eyes filled with an almost desperate hope. Groa looked directly at Ottar, her gaze unwavering. He must, she said simply, her voice carrying an undeniable finality. He must learn his own history. He must speak his own truth, for only then will it truly resonate with power. Ottar snorted in protest, a sound of frustration and despair. He is in this form, Freyja explained, her voice tinged with sadness. He cannot speak the words, Groa. Groa smiled faintly, a rare, gentle expression that softened the ancient lines of her face. Then he must be changed. He must be given his true form, but only at the right moment, at the thing itself, when the truth will have the most impact. But first, he must learn. The knowledge must be his, deep within his very being. Freyja's mind raced, processing the implications. Ottar, in human form, standing before the assembled thing, reciting his lineage. It would be powerful, undeniable, a moment of profound truth. "You will teach him?" she asked, a surge of hope, vibrant and strong, filling her heart. Groa nodded, her eyes twinkling. "It will take time. It will require dedication, patience, and a willingness to embrace the ancient knowledge. The names are many, the stories long and intricate. We have some time before the thing," Freyja said, her resolve hardening. "We will remain here. We will learn from you, Groa, whatever it takes." Groa offered a genuine smile this time, a warmth radiating from her that filled the cavern. "Then let us begin," she said, gesturing to a stack of ancient scrolls, their parchment yellowed and brittle with age, and worn stone tablets covered in faded script. "The knowledge awaits, thirsty for a new vessel." Freyja felt a profound surge of hope, a certainty that they were on the right path. This detour, though unexpected, was not merely crucial, but divinely guided. Groa's wisdom was invaluable, a beacon in the darkness. Ottar's claim would not merely be heard, it would be undeniable, etched into the very fabric of reality by the power of his own voice. The Vrolva began speaking, her voice a low, melodic hum weaving tales of ancient times, of forgotten heroes and heroines, detailing the long and illustrious line of Ottar's ancestors. Ottar listened intently, his golden eyes fixed on Groa, absorbing every word, every nuance, every name. Freyja watched, a profound sense of peace settling over her. They were on the right course, guided by wisdom, driven by justice, moving towards a destiny that felt both ancient and inevitable. The cavern became their sanctuary, a timeless space where the past was brought to life. Groa, with endless patience and a deep well of ancient wisdom, taught Ottar the names, the stories, the precise order of his lineage. She used not just words, but ancient chants, rhythmic drumming, and even the subtle manipulation of energy to imprint the knowledge deep within his being. Freyja assisted, often repeating names, helping Ottar visualize the ancestral figures, and offering silent encouragement through gentle touches and reassuring words. She saw the dedication in Ottar's golden eyes, the fierce determination to reclaim his truth. Days turned into weeks, the passage of time marked only by the shifting light outside the cave and the deepening bond between the three of them. Groa declared Ottar ready. His recitation, though silent in his current form, was perfect, etched into his very soul. Freyja thanked Groa, her gratitude profound and heartfelt. "You have given us a great gift, Groa," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "More than just knowledge, you have given us hope and the means to seek true justice." Groa smiled, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "The truth is always there, Vanadis. It merely needs to be uncovered, to be given a voice, and a brave heart to speak it." They prepared to leave, the silence of their departure a stark contrast to the richness of their time spent. Freyja looked back at the cave, its entrance already seeming to recede into the rock face, its secrets hidden once more. Groa stood at the mouth, a small, solitary figure against the vastness of the mountain, offering a final, silent nod of farewell and blessing. They began their descent, their steps light, their hearts filled with a quiet, resolute hope. The path ahead, though still challenging, felt clear and illuminated by the knowledge they carried. Ottar trotted beside Freyja, no longer just a boar in her eyes, but a vessel of history, a living testament to a proud lineage, ready to claim his destiny. The stars, now visible through the thinning mist, shone brightly above them, guiding them onward, each one a silent witness to the journey and the truth that awaited its moment to be revealed. Freyja stepped closer. Her eyes, like captured starlight, met Groa's. A silent current passed between them. Groa felt a subtle shift within her. It was not a command. It was an invitation, an undeniable pull, like the moon drawing the tide. The air in the cave thickened. It hummed with ancient power. Groa's resistance, once a solid wall, began to crumble. Her shoulders softened. Her gaze dropped, then lifted again. There was a question there, a plea, perhaps, for understanding. Freyja offered a small, gentle smile. She extended an open hand. In her palm, a single, dew-kissed forget-me-not appeared. Its blue petals shimmered. Groa reached out, hesitantly. Her fingers brushed the delicate bloom. A warmth spread through her. It was the warmth of forgotten memories, of ancient wisdom. The forget-me-not dissolved into light. It flowed into Groa's hand. It settled within her heart. Her eyes widened. She understood. The past, the present, the future all intertwined, all woven into the tapestry of lineage. Groa turned to Ottar. Her expression was now serene. Her voice, when she spoke, was a low murmur. It resonated with the cave's natural echoes. "The threads are long," she began. "The pattern intricate. Are you ready, young one, to trace them?" Ottar nodded, his heart pounding. He felt a profound sense of anticipation. This was more than a story. This was his very foundation, his birthright. Groa closed her eyes, her brow furrowed in concentration. The air around her began to swirl, not with wind, but with an unseen energy. Tiny motes of light danced in the cavern's gloom. They seemed to gather, then disperse. They formed brief, fleeting images, faces, landscapes, deeds of valor. Her voice rose, gaining strength. It was a chant, a recitation, a song of ages past. In the beginning, she intoned, there was Barry, the first. From his breath came Bor, and from Bor the mighty Othin. A distant rumble echoed. The very stones of the cave seemed to listen. From Othin, Groa continued, came the Asgardian line. But ours, young Ottar, is a different path. A path of earth and stone, of forest and river. From the giantess Bisla, Othin's mother, came not just gods, but also giants. And from their mingling, our lineage flows. She paused. Her eyes remained closed. Know this, Ottar. Your grandmother's grandmother was a daughter of the Jotnar, not of fire, not of frost, but of the ancient earth itself. She was a keeper of secrets, a weaver of fate. Her name was Jarnsaxa, and she bore a son, Hrungnir. The name resonated. It felt like a stone dropping into a deep well. Hrungnir, the strongest of giants, Groa affirmed. He was felled by Thor, but not before he sired a daughter named Grither. She was wise. She was strong. She was the mother of your great-grandfather, Svipdagr. Flickering lights illuminated Groa's face. They cast dancing shadows on the cave walls. Ottar watched, mesmerized. Names, once mere sounds, now carried weight. They carried history. They carried power. Svipdagr, Groa recited, journeyed far. He sought the hand of Mingloth, a goddess, a protector. Their union brought forth a son named Dagger. He was the day itself, bright, clear, full of promise. The air grew lighter. A faint, almost imperceptible warmth filled the cave. It was as if the sun, though unseen, had begun to rise within their sacred space. Dagger married not, Groa continued. Night, and from their embrace came Ottar, your great-great-grandmother. She was the dawn, the twilight, the liminal space where worlds meet. Ottar felt a strange sensation, a tingling in his fingertips, a hum in his bones. He was not just hearing a story, he was experiencing it. He was becoming a part of it. Ottar married a chieftain, Groa's voice deepened. A man of the land, a protector of the forests. His name was Ottarin, a name you share, a name of destiny. A faint, ethereal glow surrounded Ottar. It pulsed gently. He felt a connection, a bond across the ages. This was his namesake, his ancient echo. Ottarin and Ottar had many children, Groa went on. Sons and daughters, each a thread in the great tapestry. But one son, Fafnir, chose a path of greed, a path of darkness. He corrupted himself, became a dragon. The warmth in the cave lessened. A chill crept in, a reminder of the shadows that could touch even the noblest of lines. But Fafnir was slain, Groa declared. Her voice became firm. Slain by Sigurður, a hero, a legend. And from Fafnir's hoard, though tainted, came the ring Anvaranot, a ring that brings both fortune and sorrow. Freyja stood silently. Her presence was a steady anchor, a silent acknowledgement of the truth Groa revealed, the weaving of fate, the consequences of choice. Not all of Fafnir's line was cursed, Groa clarified. His sister, Lingheather, was pure of heart. She married a chieftain of the Volsungur clan, a clan of heroes, of kings. Their son was your great-grandfather, Sigmundr. The chill receded. The warmth returned. Sigmundr. The name resonated with strength, with resilience. Sigmundr, Groa elaborated, was a warrior, a protector. He wielded the sword Gram. He fought for justice, for his people. He sired many children, but one in particular carries your spirit, your courage. Groa paused, her eyes fluttered open. They met Ottar's. That son, she whispered, was Sigurdur, the dragon slayer, the hero of legend. Ottar gasped. Sigurdur. The very name was a beacon, a testament to bravery, to unwavering resolve. He was descended from Sigurdur, from the hero who slew the dragon. Sigurdur, Groa continued, her voice gaining a new cadence, married Guthrun, a queen, a sorceress. Their union bound two powerful lines, the Valsungur and the Gijukungur. From them came a daughter named Aslog, your great-grandmother. The air in the cave shimmered. It was as if the very fabric of time was being stretched, being laid bare. Aslog, Groa explained, was raised by foster parents. Hidden, protected, her beauty was legendary, her wisdom profound. She married the legendary Ragnar Lothbrok, a Viking chieftain, a king of Danes. Ottar's breath hitched. Ragnar Lothbrok. The stories of his conquests were etched into the very stones of their land. His ancestors were not just chieftains. They were kings. They were legends. From Ragnar and Aslog, Groa chanted, came many sons. Ivar the Boneless, Bjorn Ironside, Hvitserk, Sigurd Snake in the Eye, and from Sigurd Snake in the Eye, your grandfather, Ragnar Sigurðarson, was born. The names tumbled forth like a waterfall, each one a testament to power, to lineage, to undeniable claim. Ottar felt a surge of pride, a deep, resonant hum within his very being. Ragnar Sigurðarson, Groa affirmed, was a chieftain in his own right. He held lands. He commanded respect. He married a woman of the earth, a farmer's daughter, strong, resilient. Her name was Hildur. The cave was filled with the sound of Groa's voice. It was a rhythm, a pulse, an ancient song that spoke of blood and soil, of generations bound by honor. From Ragnar and Hildur, Groa declared, came your father Haraldr. He was a man of peace, a man of the land. He tilled the soil. He raised his family. He honored his ancestors. He honored the gods. A hush fell, a sacred silence. The air thrummed with the weight of generations, of lives lived, of legacies forged. And from Haraldr, Groa's voice softened, came you, Ottar, the inheritor, the keeper of the flame, the last, but not the least, of this noble line. She opened her eyes fully. They were clear, they were piercing. They held the wisdom of ages. Your lineage, Ottar, she stated, is not merely a list of names. It is a tapestry, woven with the threads of gods and giants, of heroes and kings, of the earth and the sky. Your claim to these lands, Groa continued, her voice firm, is not based on a single deed or a single battle. It is etched into the very fabric of your being. It is written in the blood that flows in your veins. It is sung in the wind that rustles through these ancient trees. She gestured around the cave. Hreidmar's claims, she scoffed, are but whispers. fading echoes compared to the symphony of your ancestors. He seeks to exploit a misunderstanding, a forgotten detail, but the truth, young Ottar, is inscribed here, in the very rock beneath our feet. Groa pointed to a specific section of the cave wall. It was smooth, unremarkable, but as she pointed, faint lines began to appear. They shimmered, they coalesced, they formed images, a map, a family tree, a narrative etched in light. See here, Groa indicated, the boundaries of your ancestral lands, passed down from Ottarin, from Haraldur, from your father, this meadow, this river, this forest. They are yours, by right, by blood. The images on the wall pulsed. They seemed to breathe. Ottar leaned closer. He saw the familiar landmarks, the ancient oak, the winding stream, the very stones he had played upon as a child. They were not just places, they were legacies. Hreidmr claims a passage, Groa explained. Her voice held a hint of scorn. A forgotten agreement, a dispute over a hunting ground. But that dispute was settled generations ago. By your great-great-grandfather, Ottarin. It was a trade, a fair exchange, documented, witnessed. The shimmering lines on the wall shifted. They revealed a scene. Two chieftains, shaking hands, a parchment, a witness. The image was fleeting, but the truth it conveyed was undeniable. Hreidmr seeks to exploit your youth, Groa declared. Your lack of knowledge. He believes you will not remember. He believes you will not know. Her gaze met Ottar's again. But now you know. And now you remember. The weight of the recitation settled upon Ottar. It was immense. It was overwhelming. Names, dates, places, deeds, a torrent of information. He tried to grasp it all, to hold it in his mind. But it was like trying to catch water in a sieve. The length of the recitation, Groa observed, her voice soft, is a test in itself. A challenge to memory, to focus. Hreidmr relies on its complexity, its sheer volume. Freyja stepped forward once more. Her presence was a comforting balm. She placed a gentle hand on Ottar's shoulder. Fear not, young Ottar, she murmured. Her voice was like a lullaby. The truth, once spoken, finds its own way. It resonates within the heart. It settles in the soul. She looked at Groa. You have woven a masterpiece, Groa, she said. A tapestry of truth, a shield against deceit. Groa nodded. Her face was etched with fatigue, but also with satisfaction. The task was done, the truth revealed. The challenge now, Groa warned, is to recall, to articulate, to present this truth clearly, concisely, before Hreidmr, before the assembled chieftains. Ottar felt a knot of anxiety tighten in his stomach. How could he possibly remember it all? The intricate web of names, the specific details of the land claims, the ancient agreements. It was too much. The magic of the recitation, Groa explained, is not just in the speaking. It is in the asterisk hearing asterisk. It settles within you. Like a seed, it will grow. It will bloom when needed. Freyja squeezed Ottar's shoulder. Trust in the wisdom of your ancestors, she advised. Trust in the power of truth. And trust in yourself, young Ottar. For you are their legacy, their living memory. The flickering lights in the cave began to dim. The images on the wall faded. The air grew still once more. The profound sense of ancient power receded, but something remained. A resonance, a deep understanding. Ottar felt a quiet strength gather within him. The overwhelming anxiety began to subside. He might not recall every name, every detail, but he understood the essence, the undeniable truth of his lineage, his birthright. Groa began to stir. She stretched, her bones cracking softly. The immense effort of the recitation had taken its toll. She looked at Freyja. A silent communication passed between them, a mutual respect, a shared understanding of the sacred. The dawn approaches, Groa announced. Her voice was now just a whisper. The time for action draws near. The truth has been revealed. Now it must be spoken. Ottar took a deep breath. He looked from Groa to Freyja. He felt a profound gratitude. They had given him a gift, a weapon, the truth. And with truth, he knew he could face anything. Even Hreidmar, even deceit. The air still vibrated slightly, humming with the echoes of ancient names. Groa's voice, a resonant tide of lineage, had finally faded, leaving a profound silence in its wake. Ottar, majestic in his boar form, stood rooted, a statue carved from bristly hide and sinew. His fur twitched with an almost imperceptible tremor, and a deep, troubled rumble escaped his throat, vibrating through the quiet glade. He had listened intently, every fiber of his being strained to absorb the torrent of information. He had tried to absorb every name, every deed, each intricate branch of the lineage tree. It swirled before his inner eye. A vast, shimmering tapestry woven from time and fate. But it was also impossibly complex, a cosmic knot of interwoven threads. A wave of dread, cold and unwelcome, washed over him, chilling him to his very tusks. How could he possibly remember it all? The sheer volume of information was staggering, an overwhelming ocean threatening to drown him. It felt like trying to hold a river in his cupped hands, the water slipping through his fingers, no matter how tightly he clenched them. His boar eyes, usually keen and intelligent, blinked slowly, clouded with a profound weariness. He looked around the glade, a place usually vibrant with life. But now, the ancient forest seemed to mock him. Every rustling leaf whispered a forgotten name, a phantom echo of his failing memory. The ancient trees, gnarled and silent, loomed like stern judges, their bark textured with the passage of countless seasons. They had witnessed countless tales, countless memories etched into their very rings, and he felt their silent disapproval. He shifted his immense weight, his heavy hooves sinking slightly into the soft, damp earth, disturbing a scattering of pine needles. This powerful form, this magnificent boar, was strong, it was swift, It was brave. But it did not, he realized with a pang that resonated through his very core, enhance his memory. His mind felt as mortal, as fallible, as ever, a stark contrast to the divine beast he inhabited. A low snort, thick with frustration, escaped him. He began to pace a small circle, the rhythmic thud of his hooves against the earth, the only sound breaking the stillness. His tusks, sharp and formidable, gleamed faintly in the dappled light filtering through the dense canopy, catching stray sunbeams like polished ivory. Each step brought a fresh wave of panic, a cold dread that tightened around his heart. The thing was approaching, a judgment before the gods themselves, and he needed perfect recall. A single slip, a single forgotten name, could ruin everything, bringing shame upon himself and his beloved Freyja. He imagined the great hall, Valhalla itself, its golden timbers gleaming under the eternal light. He pictured the stern, unyielding faces of the gods, their eyes piercing and ancient. Ottar himself, the All-Father, would be there, his single, all-seeing eye ready to pierce Ottar's very soul, to uncover any weakness, any flaw. There would be no room for error, no allowance for a faltering mind, no mercy for a memory that betrayed him. He let out a deep, troubled grunt, a sound of immense worry that seemed to carry the weight of the 9 realms. His large head drooped slightly, his powerful neck bowing under the invisible burden. The weight of his task settled heavily upon him, pressing down like a mountain, crushing his spirit. He was just one small boar, despite his magnificent form, facing an insurmountable challenge. Freyja watched him, her eyes holding a knowing kindness that seemed to encompass all the sorrows of the world. She saw his struggle, the visible tension in his muscular frame, and sensed his growing despair, a dark cloud threatening to engulf him. Her radiant presence, a beacon of warmth and light, was a soothing balm to his troubled spirit, a gentle golden glow in his sudden gloom. She stepped closer, her movements fluid and graceful as a forest stream. Her silken gown, woven from threads of starlight and moonbeams, shimmered with every step, catching the soft, filtered light of the glade. It was like captured moonlight, a living tapestry of silver and gold. A faint, sweet scent emanated from her, a delicate perfume of blooming meadows after a summer rain, of distant honeycombs overflowing with golden nectar, and of the sacred blossoms that grew in Asgardr itself. Ottar, she began softly, her voice a melody woven from ancient wisdom and tender affection, like the gentle murmur of a spring bubbling from the earth. You are troubled. It was a statement, not a question, for she understood his plight with a clarity that transcended mere words. She had anticipated it, knowing the immense burden he was about to face. He raised his head, his boar eyes, usually so fierce, meeting hers with a desperate plea, a deep, silent request for help. He could not voice his fears, not in this form, not with these limited sounds, only grunts and snorts. But his gaze, wide and vulnerable, spoke volumes, conveying the depth of his despair. The lineage is vast, she acknowledged, her tone understanding and empathetic. It stretches through ages, a thread spun from the dawn of time. It spans many realms, reaching from the highest branches of Yggdrasil to the deepest roots of Niflheimr. She paused, allowing her words to settle into the quiet glade, their weight and truth resonating with his own fears. Even the wisest of gods and men struggle with such burdens, Ottar. Even the Norns themselves must consult their ancient scrolls to keep the threads of fate clear. A flicker of hope, small and fragile as a newborn flame, ignited within him, dispelling a tiny corner of his despair. Perhaps she had a solution, a divine intervention that could untangle the Gordian knot of his memory. Perhaps her wisdom transcended his current predicament, offering a path where he saw only walls. He waited, his breathing shallow, every muscle in his powerful body taut with anticipation. Freyja smiled gently, a reassuring curve of her lips that brought immediate comfort. "Do not despair, my dear Ottar." Her hand, slender and elegant, rose, gesturing towards a small, ornate flask resting on a mossy stone, almost hidden from view amidst the ferns and forest floor. The flask was exquisite, a marvel of divine craftsmanship. It shimmered with an inner light, as if holding a captured star within its depths. It was crafted from polished horn, smooth and warm to the touch, inlaid with tiny, glowing runes that pulsed with a faint, steady rhythm, like a slow, ancient heartbeat. The stopper was a meticulously carved amber bee, its delicate wings outstretched as if caught mid-flight, its tiny form almost vibrating with latent energy. "I foresaw this moment," she explained, her voice calm and imbued with quiet confidence, resonating with the certainty of one who knows the weave of destiny. "I knew the challenge you faced, the immense task that lay before you." She picked up the flask, holding it carefully, almost reverently. It seemed to hum in her grasp, a subtle vibration that hinted at the potent magic contained within. "This is no ordinary draught," she continued, her eyes sparkling with ancient knowledge, reflecting the light of countless stars. "It is a memory potion, brewed only for the most dire of circumstances." Her words hung in the air, carrying a sense of wonder and profound significance, filling the glade with their quiet power. Ottar snorted softly, a sound of curiosity rather than frustration this time. His ears twitched forward, swiveling to catch every nuance of her words. He focused entirely on her, his immense form still, his anxiety lessening slightly, replaced by a nascent sliver of relief that began to bloom within his chest. "It is brewed from the purest essence," Freyja elaborated, her voice hushed and reverent, as if speaking of a sacred ritual. "From the very dew of Yggdrasil, gathered at the first light of dawn, before it can evaporate." She paused for emphasis, allowing the weight of her words to settle. "The world tree itself, the axis of all realms, has contributed its very lifeblood to this potion." He imagined the mighty tree, its colossal branches reaching the heavens, its roots delving into the deepest, most mysterious parts of the earth. Its leaves, forever green and shimmering, dripped with cosmic moisture, a powerful elixir of creation and knowledge. That dew, he knew instinctively, would hold immense, unfathomable power. Each drop carries the wisdom of ages, she explained, her voice gaining a melodic quality. The knowledge of all creation, from the first spark of life to the grand design of the cosmos. Her gaze was distant for a moment, seeming to see beyond the confines of the glade, beyond the very fabric of reality, to the vastness of the 9 realms and all that transpired within them. And she added, her voice softening further, becoming almost a whisper, "It is sweetened with the honey of the bees of Ottar." Her eyes met his again, a shared understanding passing between them. Those tiny, diligent creatures, often overlooked, yet so vital. Ottar knew of the bees of Ottar. They were not common bees, flitting between earthly blossoms. They were mythical beings, servants of the god of poetic frenzy and inspiration. They gathered nectar from the ethereal flowers of thought, pollinated the blossoms of inspiration that bloomed on the fringes of the mind, and their honey was imbued with poetic insight and profound understanding, capable of unlocking hidden depths of memory and knowledge. Their honey, Freyja continued, her voice a soothing balm that seemed to smooth the rough edges of his frayed nerves, restores clarity. It solidifies fleeting thoughts, those elusive wisps of memory that dance just beyond one's grasp. Her words were a promise, a beacon of hope. It binds memories fast, weaving them into an unshakable tapestry within the mind. The flask glowed more brightly now, the runes pulsing with increased intensity. It cast a gentle, golden light that illuminated the mossy ground around them, making the dewdrops on the grass sparkle like scattered diamonds. The air around it felt charged, humming with latent magic, a palpable energy that made the hairs on Ottar's bristly hide prickle. "This potion," she said, holding it out to him, her hand steady and graceful, "will perfectly restore. It will solidify every memory, every name, every deed." Her smile deepened, radiating warmth and confidence. "It will make the vast lineage clear, a path laid out before you, illuminated by divine understanding." Ottar nudged the flask with his snout, his rough nose brushing against the cool, smooth horn. He sniffed at it cautiously, his sensitive nostrils flaring. A faint, sweet aroma wafted up, a complex scent that spoke of sun-warmed earth after a summer rain, of distant starlight shimmering in the void, and of ancient wisdom distilled into liquid form. He felt a deep certainty, a profound conviction that settled into his very bones. This was the answer, the key he had desperately sought. His anxiety, which had been a suffocating weight, receded further, dissolving like morning mist. A profound sense of peace, quiet and unwavering, settled over him, a calm before the storm of the thing. Freyja uncorked the flask. The carved amber bee, perched atop the stopper, seemed to hum with a faint, almost imperceptible vibration. A thin wisp of iridescent vapor, shimmering with all the colors of the rainbow, curled out, spiraling upwards like a tiny, magical serpent. It dissolved into the air, leaving behind only the subtle scent of honey and ancient power. The liquid within shimmered, a luminous, pearlescent gold, inviting and radiant. "Drink, Ottar," she encouraged, her voice gentle and full of love, a silent blessing. "Drink deeply, and let the wisdom of the ages fill you." He lowered his head, his broad snout approaching the opening of the flask. The liquid beckoned him, a promise of clarity, a balm for his troubled mind. It offered solace, a reprieve from the crushing burden of his task. He began to drink, the golden liquid flowing smoothly into his mouth. The potion was cool, a refreshing sensation against his tongue. It was smooth, almost silken, as it flowed down his throat. It tasted faintly of honey, sweet and comforting, yet with an underlying complexity. It tasted of fresh forest dew, of the verdant earth, and of something ancient, something profoundly good and elemental. He felt it flow down his throat, a warm current spreading through his chest, then reaching every part of his mighty boar body, tingling to his very hooves. A tingling sensation began, subtle at first, then growing in intensity. It started at the tips of his bristly ears, making them twitch with a newfound sensitivity. It moved down his spine, a wave of energy that straightened his posture, then reached his powerful legs. His hooves felt rooted to the earth, grounded and solid, but his mind felt suddenly light, unburdened, as if a great weight had been lifted. Colors in the glade grew sharper, more vibrant, as if a veil had been lifted from his eyes. The individual leaves on the trees stood out with astonishing clarity, each vein, each tiny imperfection, each dewdrop clinging to their surface, was clear and distinct. The scent of pine needles, previously a general aroma, became a tapestry of individual notes, sharp and clean. The distant chirping of a bird, once a vague background sound, was now crystal clear, each note precise and resonant. Then the memories began to surge, not in a chaotic, dizzying rush, but in an orderly, beautiful procession, like a meticulously choreographed dance. Each name, each deed, each intricate connection within the lineage, they unfolded before his inner eye, vivid and perfect, slotting into place with an undeniable logic. He saw Barry, the first being formed from the melting ice, his massive form emerging from the ancient mists. He saw Bor, his son, and then Othen, Vili, and Ve, the three brothers who shaped the world. Their forms were vivid, their stories played out before him with astonishing detail. He remembered their deeds, their sacrifices, their triumphs, and recalled their wisdom, their profound insights that guided the cosmos. The lineage of his mother, Hlothen, unfurled next, a thread reaching back to the very earth itself. Her ancient lineage, her connection to the fertile ground and the primordial forces of nature, became utterly clear. He saw her ancestors, the giants and goddesses of the earth, understood their roles in the grand tapestry of creation, and grasped their profound significance to the balance of the realms. Then came his own line, stretching forward through the ages. The heroes, the kings, the wise women, the brave warriors. Each face was distinct, etched into his mind with perfect clarity. Each story was vibrant, a living testament to courage and destiny. He felt their presence, a comforting chorus of voices in his mind. He understood their struggles, their moments of doubt and triumph, and celebrated their victories as if they were his own. The vastness of the lineage no longer felt overwhelming. It felt like a grand tapestry, rich and intricate. Each thread was distinct, each color vibrant. But now he saw the pattern, the underlying design that connected every element. He understood the whole, the flow of history and fate, the interconnectedness of all beings. The names flowed effortlessly from his inner being, connecting perfectly, one to the next, like a song he had always known. He could see the branching paths of families, the intermarriages between gods and mortals, giants and elves. He could trace every ancestor back to the very beginning and recite every deed, every pivotal moment. It was all there, perfectly clear, etched into the very fabric of his being. He finished the potion. The flask, now empty, felt light and insignificant in his mind, its purpose fulfilled. A profound sense of calm, deep and unwavering, settled over him, replacing the tumultuous anxiety that had plagued him. The worry had vanished, leaving not even a trace of its former grip. In its place was an unwavering certainty, a quiet confidence that permeated his entire being. He looked at Freyja, his boar eyes shining with boundless gratitude, reflecting the golden light of her presence. He wanted to speak, to utter words of thanks that could convey the depth of his appreciation. But his voice was still a grunt, albeit a contented one. He nudged her hand gently with his snout, a soft, deliberate gesture of immense thanks, a silent promise of loyalty. Freyja smiled, her eyes warm and understanding, seeing the transformation within him. "You see now, Ottar," she said softly, her voice like a caress. "The burden is lifted. Your mind is clear." She patted his bristly head, her touch light and comforting, a benediction. He let out a contented snort, a sound of pure happiness and relief, like a sigh of wind through ancient trees. He felt ready, prepared for whatever lay ahead. The thing no longer seemed daunting, no longer a source of terror, but rather an opportunity to honor his ancestors, to speak their names with reverence and pride, and an opportunity to prove his worth, not just to the gods, but to himself. The glade seemed brighter, as if the very light had intensified with his new clarity. The air felt lighter, fresher, vibrant with hidden energies. The forest no longer mocked him. It seemed to welcome him, its ancient wisdom now a comforting presence. The ancient trees, their gnarled branches reaching skyward, seemed to nod in approval, their silent judgment replaced by quiet affirmation of his new understanding. He stood taller, his powerful form feeling even stronger, imbued with a newfound inner strength. Not just physically, but mentally. His mind was sharp, his memory perfect, a flawless repository of ages. He held the entire lineage within him, every name, every story, every connection, a living library of history. He looked at Freyja again, his gratitude boundless, an emotion too vast for words. She had not just given him a potion, she had given him peace, freeing him from the shackles of doubt. She had given him confidence, allowing him to stand tall. She had given him the means to succeed, to fulfill his destiny. He let out a deep, resonant rumble, a sound of profound contentment that vibrated through the glade. It was a sound of readiness, of unwavering resolve. The time for the thing approached, a test of his knowledge and his spirit. And Ottar, the boar, was now fully prepared. His memory was flawless. His spirit was strong. He was ready to face the gods, to speak the truth of his lineage, and to claim his. The path narrowed now. It wound through ancient, gnarled oaks. Their branches, heavy with moss, reached like old arms. Freyja and Hildisvini walked on. The air grew cooler here. A soft mist clung to the ground. It swirled around their ankles. They were nearing the thing. A distant hum began to reach them. It was a sound like many voices. It was the sound of a gathering. Soon the trees thinned. A wide, open plain stretched before them. Tents dotted the landscape. They were made of rough hides and woven wool. Smoke rose from many small fires. It drifted lazily into the sky. The plain was alive with people. Chieftains stood in serious groups. Farmers bartered their goods. Children chased each other. Their laughter carried on the breeze. This was the thing. It was a sacred place. Here, laws were made. Disputes were settled. All free folk could gather here. They could speak their minds. They could seek justice. The air thrummed with energy. It was a mix of anticipation and solemnity. Freyja observed it all. Her eyes, usually gentle, held a keen focus. Hildisvini, still in his boar form, felt the ground tremble beneath his hooves. It was the vibration of many feet. It was the bustle of 1,000 lives. The central space was cleared. A large, flat stone marked the speaker's place. Around it, people gathered. They formed a semicircle. Their faces were turned towards the stone. A hush began to fall. It spread slowly through the crowd. All eyes were now drawn to the speaking stone. A figure approached it. He moved with a confident stride. It was Hreidmr. His face wore a self-satisfied smirk. Hreidmr was dressed finely. His cloak was woven with gold thread. It shimmered in the morning light. A heavy silver torque gleamed at his throat. He carried himself with an air of importance. He seemed to swell with his own pride. He reached the stone. He placed one hand upon its rough surface. His gaze swept over the assembled crowd. He offered a practiced, charming smile. "My friends," he began. His voice was deep. It resonated across the plain. It carried an easy confidence. We gather here today. We gather for justice. We gather for truth. His words were smooth. They flowed like a river. He paused for a moment. He let his words hang in the air. The crowd listened intently. They leaned forward slightly. "A great wrong has been done," he continued. His voice took on a sorrowful tone. It was carefully crafted. "A betrayal has occurred. It threatens our very way of life. It threatens the bonds of family. It threatens the sacred trust. He shook his head slowly. He feigned deep disappointment, his brow furrowed with false concern. He spoke of the old laws. He twisted their meaning. He bent them to his will. He spoke of inheritance. He spoke of the bloodline. He spoke of rightful claim. He painted a picture of himself. He was the wronged party. He was the victim of deceit. He was the keeper of tradition. He spoke of Ottar. His voice dripped with disdain. Ottar Hreidmar scoffed. A sneer touched his lips. My own brother. He has abandoned his duties. He has shirked his responsibilities. He has forgotten his family. He has forgotten his kin. He has left our ancestral lands. He has left them to ruin. He gestured with a dismissive wave. His hand swept broadly. It implied vast neglect. Where is Ottar now? Hreidmar challenged. His voice rose slightly. It filled with mock indignation. Why does he not stand before you? Why does he not present his case? Because he has no case. He has no claim. He has nothing but empty promises. He has nothing but a wanderer's folly. He laughed then. It was a short, sharp sound. It was devoid of true mirth. The crowd stirred. Some murmurs rose. Many faces showed doubt. They looked at each other. They considered his words. Hreidmar's charm was potent. His words were persuasive. He had practiced this speech. He had honed it tirelessly. He knew how to sway opinions. He knew how to win support. He knew how to manipulate. He speaks of our father's will, Hreidmar declared. His voice boomed now. It carried conviction. A will that was never properly witnessed. A will that was never truly recognized. A will that contradicts our ancient customs. It is a fabrication. It is a lie. It is a desperate attempt. It is a desperate attempt to seize what is not his. He pounded his fist lightly on the stone. It made a soft, dull thud. He then spoke of his own actions. He spoke of his stewardship. He spoke of his hard work. He spoke of his dedication. He claimed to have nurtured their lands. He claimed to have protected their people. He claimed to have upheld their honor. He presented himself as the rightful heir. He was the protector of their legacy. He was the true son. I have kept our hearth fire burning, he proclaimed. His voice was earnest now. It was filled with false sincerity. I have tilled the soil. I have tended the flocks. I have preserved what Ottar cast aside. I have done my duty. I have done my duty to our ancestors. I have done my duty to our future. He spread his hands wide. He invited their judgment. He invited their approval. The crowd seemed swayed. Their initial doubts lessened. Heads nodded in agreement. Whispers of support spread. Hreidmar watched them. A triumphant gleam entered his eyes. He saw their belief. He saw their acceptance. He saw his victory approaching. He saw his power growing. He saw his deception working. Freyja watched him. Her expression was unreadable. Her eyes, like pools of deep water, reflected the scene. Hildisvini stood beside her. He snorted softly. A low rumble came from his chest. He felt the injustice. He felt the anger building. He was Ottar. He was the one Hreidmar mocked. He was the one Hreidmar slandered. He speaks of weakness, Hreidmar continued. His voice was laced with contempt. He speaks of Ottar's perceived weakness. He speaks of his inability to lead. He speaks of his lack of courage. He paused for effect. A cruel smile played on his lips. Where is the valiant Ottar now? Is he hiding in some distant forest? Is he too afraid to face his kin? Is he too ashamed to show his face? The crowd laughed then. It was a ripple of chuckles. It was a wave of amusement. The sound stung Hildisvíni. It pierced him deeply. He felt the humiliation. He felt the mockery. He wanted to charge forward. He wanted to reveal himself. He wanted to shout the truth. He wanted to expose Hreidmar's lies. But Freyja's hand rested gently on his back. Her touch was light. It was a silent command. It was a calming presence. She knew the time was not yet right. They needed to wait. They needed to observe. They needed to choose their moment. The goddess of love and battle understood strategy. She understood patience. She understood timing. Hildisvíni took a deep breath. He held it for a moment. He slowly released it. He forced himself to calm. He forced himself to listen. He forced himself to endure. He watched Hreidmar. He saw his brother's arrogance. He saw his brother's malice. He saw his brother's greed. Hreidmar concluded his speech. He ended with a flourish. He bowed slightly to the crowd. He looked supremely confident. He looked utterly victorious. The murmurs grew louder. They were now sounds of approval. They were sounds of agreement. The crowd was almost fully swayed. They were almost convinced. Freyja surveyed the scene. The sun was now higher. It cast long shadows. The air was warm. It carried the scent of wood smoke. It carried the scent of damp earth. It carried the scent of human endeavor. She saw the faces of the people. She saw their trust. She saw their vulnerability. She saw their need for justice. She knew what she had to do. She knew what Ottar had to do. They had to break through this illusion. They had to expose the truth. They had to reveal the deception. They had to fight for what was right. They had to fight for justice. They had to fight for honor. Hildisvíni watched Hreidmar. He saw the smug satisfaction on his face. He saw the triumph in his eyes. He felt a surge of resolve. This was his chance. This was his moment. He had to reclaim his name. He had to clear his honor. He had to reclaim his birthright. The thing was a sacred place. It was a place of law. It was a place of truth. But it could also be swayed. It could be manipulated. It could be misled. Hreidmar had proven that. He had twisted the minds of the people. He had clouded their judgment. He had used their trust against them. Freyja glanced at Hildisvíni. Her eyes met his. A silent understanding passed between them. She nodded almost imperceptibly. It was a signal. It was an affirmation. It was a sign of readiness. The time was approaching. The moment was at hand. The chieftains began to deliberate. They spoke in low tones. They consulted with each other. They considered Hreidmar's words. They weighed his claims. Their faces were serious. They were solemn. They were accustomed to such matters. They were used to difficult decisions. But Hreidmar's presentation had been powerful. It had been convincing. It had been well rehearsed. He had played on their emotions. He had appealed to their sense of tradition. He had exploited their fear of chaos. He had won them over. He had won them over almost entirely. Hildisvini felt the tension build. He felt the pressure. He felt the weight of the moment. He was a boar, but he was also Ottar. He was a man with a just cause. He was a man seeking justice. He was a man seeking truth. He would not be silenced. He would not be defeated. He would not let Hreidmar win. The sun climbed higher. Its warmth spread over the plain. The air hummed with anticipation. The thing was ready for a decision. It was ready for a verdict. It was ready for the next step. Hreidmar smiled openly now. He looked around him. He looked at the faces of the people. He saw their acceptance. He saw his victory. He felt the power. But he was unaware. He was completely unaware. He was unaware of the divine presence. He was unaware of the transformed farmer. He was unaware of the goddess. He was unaware of her plan. He was unaware of their strength. He was unaware of their resolve. He was unaware of his impending downfall. Freyja stood calm. She stood collected. She was a picture of serene power. Her golden necklace, Brisingamen, glowed softly. It pulsed with a gentle light. It was a subtle beacon. It was a silent promise. It was a symbol of her might. She was ready. Ottar was ready. The truth would prevail. The justice would be served. The thing would see the light. The thing would know the truth. The thing would know the real story. The thing would know the true heir. The thing would know Ottar. The thing would know Freyja. The thing would know justice. The thing would know honor. The thing would know the truth. The thing would know the real Ottar. The thing would know his rightful claim. The thing would know the lies. The thing would know the truth. The thing would know the full story. The thing would know everything. The thing would know. A hush fell. It truly deepened. Freyja stood, her presence commanding. Her eyes, like twilight stars, swept over the assembly. A soft, ethereal glow began to emanate from her. It shimmered, almost imperceptibly at first. Then the light intensified. It pulsed gently, a warm, golden aura. It wrapped around the boar, Gullinbursti, where he stood. The boar, once so stout and bristly, began to change. His tusks, sharp and impressive, softened, then receded. His coarse, golden bristles shimmered. They grew finer, smoother, transforming. The broad snout elongated, reshaping. His powerful legs, so strong and sturdy, slenderized. A collective gasp rippled through the gathered crowd. The transformation was slow, yet mesmerizing. It unfolded with deliberate grace. The golden light pulsed brighter still. It swirled around the changing form. The outline of a man began to emerge. Hreidmar watched, his jaw slack. Disbelief etched his features. His smug smile vanished entirely. His eyes, usually so sharp, widened. He recoiled slightly, a step backward. The boar's grunts faded. They were replaced by soft human sighs. The golden light receded slowly. It peeled away like an uncurling leaf. There, in Gullinbursti's place, stood Ottar. He was no longer a boar. He was a man, tall and strong. His hair, now dark brown, fell softly. His eyes, a clear hazel, blinked. He wore simple, homespun tunics. They seemed to materialize with him. The assembly gasped again, collectively. Whispers filled the air. They buzzed like agitated bees. A man, someone breathed, astonished. It was Ottar all along. Another exclaimed. Many pointed, their fingers trembling. Ottar stood, blinking in the sudden quiet. He felt a deep sense of clarity. The potion, Groa's potent brew, had worked. Every memory, every story was vivid. It was sharp, perfectly etched within him. He felt a newfound strength. His heart beat steadily, a strong rhythm. Confidence surged through his veins. He looked at Freyja, his eyes grateful. She offered a small, encouraging smile. It was a silent reassurance. Then Ottar turned. He faced the assembly directly. His gaze was steady, unwavering. He looked at Hreidmr first. Hreidmr's face was pale, almost ashen. His bravado had completely evaporated. Ottar's voice, though quiet, resonated. It carried through the hall. "I am Ottar," he began clearly, "son of Ingun." His words were calm, measured. They held a quiet authority. He paused, letting the name settle. The crowd leaned forward, listening. Their initial shock was fading. It was replaced by keen interest. They wanted to hear his story. "My mother, Ingun," Ottar continued. "She was known for her kindness." His voice softened slightly here, "and for her gentle wisdom." He spoke of her with reverence. "Her father was Thord," he stated, "a man of great renown." Ottar's memory was perfect. Groa's potion had ensured it. He saw Thord's face clearly. He remembered Groa's description. Thord, son of Halfdan the Old. He articulated each name. Halfdan, a chieftain of great stature. Ottar painted a picture with words. He described the lineage precisely. Hreidmr stirred, attempting to speak. "He lies," Hreidmr sputtered weakly. This impostor, but his voice lacked conviction. It was a mere whisper of its former bluster. Ottar did not even glance at him. He continued his recitation. His focus remained unbroken. "Halfdan the Old," he repeated. "His lineage stretches back." He explained the connections. His mother was Hilda, Ottar stated, daughter of King Dag. He provided the specific details. King Dag, a ruler of justice. His words flowed smoothly, effortlessly. The assembly listened intently. They recognized some names. These were figures from their sagas. These were names from their histories. They nodded, murmuring amongst themselves. From the line of Dag, Ottar explained, came many noble warriors. He spoke of their bravery. He spoke of their honor. He wove a tapestry of ancestral deeds. And Halfdan's father, Ottar continued, was Sveidd the warrior. He described Sveidd's prowess, a man unmatched in battle. Ottar's voice conveyed strength. Sveidd, son of King Nor. Ottar's voice grew stronger. Nor, who first ruled this land. He spoke of ancient beginnings. He spoke of true sovereignty. Hreidmar's face flushed red. He shifted uncomfortably. His eyes darted nervously. He looked at the assembly. They were no longer looking at him. Their attention was solely on Ottar. Ottar, now fully confident, continued. And Nor's father was Thori, he said, a king of winter's might. He detailed Thori's reign. He spoke of his enduring legacy. Thori, son of Snare the Old. Ottar's voice was clear. Snare, whose wisdom was legendary. He spoke of ancient lineage. He spoke of deep, true roots. Each name was a hammer blow. It struck against Hreidmar's lies. Each detail was a precise arrow. It pierced Hreidmar's falsehoods. The truth was undeniable. Ottar paused, taking a breath. He looked directly at Hreidmar. You claim I am a commoner. Ottar's voice was calm. You claim I have no lineage. Hreidmar stammered, unable to speak. His eyes pleaded with the crowd, but their faces were stern. They looked at him with disdain. They saw his deception clearly. My lineage, Ottar stated firmly, is as old as these mountains. He gestured broadly around them, as strong as these ancient trees. His words carried immense weight. My ancestors, Ottar declared, are etched into the sagas. He spoke of their enduring legacy, their deeds sung by skalds. He invoked their collective memory. He continued, reciting further back. Snare the Old, son of Frosty. He spoke of Frosty's domain, lord of the frozen wastes. He added atmospheric details. Frosty, son of Yurkut, Ottar stated. Yurkut, the ice giant. He connected to primordial beings. He spoke of ancient, powerful forces. The crowd murmured in awe. This was not mere recitation. This was an invocation. It was a summoning of history. It was a tapestry of generations. It was a truth woven deep. Hreidmar's shoulders slumped. He looked defeated, utterly. His grand deception had crumbled. It had shattered into dust. His face was a mask of shame. And Yurkut's father, Ottar continued, was Fornjot. His voice resonated deeply. The ancient, primordial king. He spoke of the very first beings. Fornjot, Ottar stated clearly. The father of fire and sea. He connected himself to creation. He connected to the very elements. The assembly was captivated. Every word was a testament. Every name was a confirmation. Ottar's memory was flawless. The potion had worked perfectly. He had absorbed Groa's vast knowledge. He spoke of their lands. He spoke of their deeds. He spoke of their honor. He spoke of their wisdom. He painted a vibrant picture. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, not with doubt, but with wonder. Their faces reflected awe. Their eyes shone with conviction. They saw the truth before them. Ottar then turned to the assembly. His gaze swept over them. "This is who I am," he declared. His voice was strong, unwavering. "Ottar, son of Ingun." He looked at Hreidmar one last time. His expression was calm, resolute. "You claimed I was a nobody." Ottar stated, without malice. "You spread your wicked lies. But the truth," Ottar concluded, "it always finds its way." He spoke with quiet power. "It shines brighter than any falsehood." His words hung in the air. The assembly erupted then, not in chaos, but in cheers. They cheered for Ottar. They cheered for the truth. They cheered for Freyja's intervention. Some stepped forward, eyes shining. They offered their congratulations. They clapped Ottar on the back. They praised his powerful recitation. They acknowledged his noble lineage. Hreidmar, utterly shamed, tried to slink away. But the crowd blocked his path. Their faces were stern, unforgiving. They would not let him escape. Their anger was palpable. Freyja stepped forward then. Her smile was gentle, triumphant. She placed a hand on Ottar's shoulder. "You have done well, Ottar," she said. Her voice was soft, warm. Ottar looked at her, gratitude in his eyes. "Thank you, Lady Freyja," he replied. "Without your wisdom," he left the sentence unfinished. Her help had been invaluable. The assembly continued their cheers. They applauded his courage. They applauded his truthfulness. They saw him as a hero. He had faced down a powerful lie. The sun began to dip lower. Its golden light softened. It cast long shadows across the hall. The air was filled with triumph. The air was filled with justice. The whispers of doubt were gone. The clouds of uncertainty had lifted. Only truth remained, shining bright. It illuminated the entire assembly. It illuminated Ottar's victory. He stood tall, a man reborn, not just from boar to human, but from forgotten past to certain future. He had reclaimed his identity. He had reclaimed his honor. The crowd gathered closer. They wanted to hear more. They wanted to hear his story. They wanted to know his journey. They respected his resilience. Ottar, though weary, felt invigorated. The memory potion still hummed. It filled him with ancestral strength. He felt connected to his forebears. He felt their collective wisdom. He looked at Freyja again. Her eyes held deep approval. She had guided him to this moment. She had believed in his worth. She had seen beyond the disguise. The murmurs of the crowd continued. They spoke of Hreidmar's deceit. They spoke of his arrogance. They spoke of his impending judgment. Justice would be served. Ottar felt a sense of peace. The long journey was ending. The trial was complete. His name was cleared. His lineage was proven. The truth, like a river, flowed. It carved its path through lies. It revealed the bedrock of history. It revealed the strength of ancestry. It revealed Ottar's true self. The air settled, calmer now. The initial fervor softened. A quiet respect filled the hall. It was a deep, abiding reverence. For truth, for honor, for lineage. Ottar stood, a beacon of truth. His story resonated deeply. It echoed in every heart. It was a triumph of spirit. It was a victory of truth. Freyja smiled, a knowing glance. Her work was nearly complete. Ottar had found his way. He had found his true self. He had found his rightful place. The assembly began to disperse, but not without a final nod, a final look of admiration. They carried his story with them. They carried the truth home. Ottar too felt the day's end. He felt the weight of the journey, but it was a good weight. It was the weight of accomplishment. It was the weight of truth. He looked around the hall. The faces, once skeptical, now revered. The air, once tense, now peaceful. He had faced his challenge. He had emerged victorious. The memories, sharp and clear, remained. Groa's potion was a gift. It was a gift of self-knowledge. It was a gift of belonging. It was a gift of truth. Ottar, the forgotten man, was no more. He was Ottar, son of Ingun. He was Ottar of noble lineage. He was Ottar, a man of truth. And he stood tall. The last rays of sun faded. Twilight deepened around them. Only the lingering glow of truth remained. It filled the great hall. It filled Ottar's heart. He breathed deeply, a contented sigh. His journey had truly begun. Not ended, but begun anew. With truth as his compass, with honor as his guide. He had found his place. He had found his people. He had found himself. And the world finally knew the true identity of Ottar, the true strength of his spirit. The murmurs hushed. A stillness settled, thick and expectant, over the clearing. The air, crisp with the scent of pine and damp earth, seemed to hold its breath. Sunlight, filtering through the ancient oak canopy, dappled the faces of the assembled folk, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow. The law speaker, a man whose face was etched with the wisdom of countless past seasons, cleared his throat. The sound, a low rumble that resonated through the quiet. His voice, deep and resonant, filled the air, not as a shout, but as a current, carrying the weight of generations of custom and law. He spoke of evidence, of truth, of the ancient custom that bound their society, a custom as old and enduring as the mighty roots of the trees surrounding them. He spoke of Ottar's clear claim, a claim meticulously laid out, piece by painstaking piece, like the stones of a well-built wall. The assembly had heard enough. Their eyes, once narrowed in skepticism or concern, now held a shared understanding. They had seen the maps, finely drawn on cured hide, showing the ancient markers, the winding stream, the time-honored boundaries. They had heard the testimony, the quiet, unwavering voices of those who remembered, those who had seen, those who had always known. They had felt the undeniable weight of truth, settling upon them like the gentle, persistent rain that nourished their lands. A collective nod, slow and deliberate, rippled through the crowd. A silent affirmation that needed no words. The decision, like the clear waters of a mountain spring, was undeniable. The land is Ottar's, the law speaker declared, his voice rising in volume, carrying across the clearing, and echoing faintly against the distant hills. His claim is just. His lineage is proven, as clear as the winter sky. A quiet cheer, a murmur of approval that sounded like the rustle of leaves in a gentle breeze, rose from the onlookers. It was a sound of relief, of vindication, of justice finally finding its voice. Hreidmar stood frozen, a statue carved from disbelief. His face, once so proud and arrogant, now sagged, the lines of his mouth pulled down into a grimace of utter defeat. His eyes, once sharp and calculating, darted nervously like trapped birds, from the unyielding gaze of the law speaker to the serene, knowing expression on Freyja's face. Then, finally, they settled on Ottar, who stood tall and humble, radiating a quiet strength. Hreidmar's defeat was complete, a bitter taste in his mouth, a cold knot in his stomach. The very air around him seemed to thicken with his palpable frustration. The law speaker, his voice unwavering, continued. Hreidmar's claim is false. He has brought dishonor upon himself, upon his house, and upon this sacred thing. He must relinquish all claims, now and forevermore. The words were like stones, not thrown in anger, but dropped with the immutable weight of law. They fell heavily upon Hreidmar, each syllable a blow. He visibly flinched, a small, involuntary twitch of his shoulders, as if struck, a ripple of quiet satisfaction, like a warm current flowing through the crowd, spread from person to person. Justice had been served, not with vengeance, but with clarity. The truth had prevailed, shining brightly through the shadows of deceit. The thing had upheld its sacred duty, its ancient customs, its profound connection to the land and its people. The ancient ways were honored, their strength reaffirmed. Hreidmar turned slowly, his shoulders slumped as if under an invisible burden. His grand words, once so full of bluster and false promises, had failed him utterly. His ambition, once a soaring eagle, had brought him crashing to the earth, a broken thing. He cast a venomous glance at Ottar, a look of pure, unadulterated hatred that flickered in his eyes like a dying ember. It was a promise of future bitterness, a silent curse. Then, without a word, a single syllable of defiance or regret, he turned to leave. His retinue, a small band of grim-faced men, followed him, their movements quick and furtive. They moved through the dispersing crowd like shadows, wanting only to escape the crushing weight of their master's shame, to melt back into the anonymity of the forest. The rustle of their cloaks was the only sound accompanying their hasty retreat. The assembly watched them go. No one spoke aloud, no one cheered, for their triumph was too profound for boisterous celebration. There was only a quiet sense of triumph, a deep satisfaction that resonated in the very earth beneath their feet. The air, once thick with tension, felt lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted from the shoulders of all present. A soft breeze whispered through the trees, carrying with it the scent of victory. Freyja stepped forward, her presence luminous, as if she carried the very light of the sun within her. Her silk gown, the color of newly bloomed crocuses, seemed to ripple with an inner glow. She looked at Ottar, her eyes, the color of warm honey, held a deep warmth that promised solace and understanding. A gentle smile, as soft as a dewdrop on a petal, touched her lips, transforming her already radiant face. She extended a hand towards him, her fingers long and graceful, a gesture of profound acceptance. Ottar, overwhelmed by a wave of gratitude that threatened to bring tears to his eyes, knelt before her. His heart swelled, a boundless emotion that filled his chest. He felt a profound sense of peace, a quiet calm settling over his weary spirit. The long, arduous struggle was over. He had won back his home, not just the land, but the very essence of his being. The rough texture of the earth beneath his knees was a comforting anchor. Ottar, Freyja began, her voice soft, a gentle breeze rustling through tall grasses. You have shown great devotion, a steadfastness that few possess. You have honored the truth, even when it was difficult, even when it seemed impossible. Her words were a balm, soothing the ragged edges of his long-held anxieties, calming the storm that had raged within him for so long. Your steadfastness is a beacon, a guiding star in the darkest night. It shines brightly, illuminating the path for others. It reminds us all, she paused, her gaze unwavering, holding his, reflecting the depth of her understanding, of the power of unwavering faith in what is right, in what is true. Her voice was a melody, a resonant hum that vibrated within him, settling deep in his bones, a promise of enduring strength. The land is truly yours now, she affirmed, her voice imbued with ancient power. It is blessed by your truth, by the purity of your intentions. It is nurtured by your spirit, by the sweat of your brow and the honesty of your heart. She placed a hand lightly on his head, her touch surprisingly warm, like sunlight on stone. A wave of comforting warmth spread through him, deep and encompassing, a feeling of being wholly seen and profoundly accepted. May your fields flourish, yielding abundant harvests season after season, she continued, her voice painting vivid pictures in his mind. May your livestock thrive, their numbers growing, healthy and strong. May your home, the very heart of your being, be filled with peace, with laughter, and with enduring contentment. Her blessing was not merely words, it was a promise, a powerful invocation that settled deep within his soul, a seed of future prosperity. Remember this day, Ottar, she advised, her voice a whisper, yet clear as a bell. Remember the strength within you, the courage you unearthed when faced with adversity. Remember the truth you upheld, the unwavering commitment to justice. Her wisdom was profound, a guiding light that he knew would illuminate his path always, a constant source of inner fortitude. And remember Hildisvini, she added, a faint, tender smile touching her lips, a hint of amusement in her eyes. He was your faithful companion, a protector and a friend. He was a symbol of your devotion, a testament to the bonds that transcend species. Her words honored his brave boar, elevating his sacrifice to a place of quiet reverence. Ottar bowed his head, humility washing over him. He felt blessed beyond measure, an immense joy bubbling up from deep within his spirit. He had faced adversity, stared it down, and emerged victorious, not through violence, but through unwavering truth. The rough fabric of his tunic felt comforting against his skin, a reminder of the simple, honest life that awaited him. Freyja then turned to the assembly, her gaze sweeping over them, her eyes holding a knowing light that seemed to see into their very souls. She gave a silent nod, a subtle gesture of farewell that conveyed both gratitude and a sense of completion. The air around her shimmered, not with heat, but with a subtle energy that spoke of ancient power. Then, with a gentle shimmer that intensified for a fleeting moment, she began to fade. Her form grew translucent, her vibrant colors softening, like a painting dissolving into the mist. Her golden aura, which had illuminated the clearing, dimmed, receding into itself. She vanished into the very air, gone as swiftly and gracefully as she had arrived, leaving only a lingering scent of wildflowers and a profound sense of awe. A collective sigh, soft and reverent, rippled through the crowd. Her departure was always graceful, always imbued with a sense of the miraculous, leaving behind a lingering sense of wonder, a quiet echo of the divine. The law speaker, his voice a little softer now, cleared his throat once more, bringing them gently back to the mundane world. "The thing is concluded," he announced, his voice firm, but with a note of quiet satisfaction. "Justice has been served. Let all return to their homes, with peace in their hearts and truth in their minds." The assembly began to disperse, moving slowly, their steps measured, their conversations hushed, as if still under the spell of the divine presence. The sunlight, now lower in the sky, cast long, benevolent shadows. Ottar rose to his feet, a lightness in his step that he hadn't felt in years. The heavy burden that had weighed him down for so long had finally lifted, replaced by an exhilarating sense of freedom. He looked at the familiar path that wound through the trees, a path that led back to his farm, back to his future, to the life he had fought so hard to reclaim. He saw the faces of his neighbors, their eyes, once filled with concern or pity, now beaming with genuine warmth. They smiled at him, their expressions open and sincere, offering words of congratulations that were heartfelt and true. Their eyes held a newfound respect, a profound understanding. They knew his struggle, had witnessed his steadfastness, and now they honored his victory, a triumph for them all. He walked with purpose, each step feeling lighter, as if the very ground beneath his feet was buoying him up. The setting sun shone brighter, casting golden hues across the landscape, and the air smelled sweeter, cleaner, infused with the scent of fresh earth and the promise of new beginnings. He was going home, not just to a plot of land, but to his true home, the place where his heart resided. As he walked, memories flooded him, not as a torment, but as a testament to the journey he had undertaken. He remembered the barren fields, neglected and choked with weeds. He remembered the empty barns, their quiet echoing his despair. He remembered the constant, gnawing worry that had been his unwelcome companion. Now, those memories faded, receding into the background, replaced by a vibrant, pulsating hope for the future. He thought of his ancestors, their spirits hovering close, watching over him. He thought of their toil, their sweat, their unwavering dedication to this land. He thought of their legacy, a sacred trust passed down through generations. He was upholding their honor. He was continuing their line. He was protecting their land, ensuring its prosperity for those yet to come. He imagined their silent approval, a warm embrace from the past. The path wound through rolling hills, their gentle slopes softened by the golden light. The trees swayed gently, their leaves rustling a quiet symphony. The birds, preparing for their evening rest, sang their final melodious songs, their notes a celebration of life. Nature itself seemed to rejoice with him, a harmonious chorus of peace and contentment. He pictured his farm, not as it had been, but as it would be. He pictured the sturdy farmhouse, its timbers strong, its hearth warm. He pictured the fertile fields, rich with promise, ready for the plow. He pictured the clear stream, its waters murmuring softly, bringing life to the land. It was all truly his, not just by decree, but by the undeniable right of truth and unwavering spirit. It was all safe now, protected by the gods, and by his own enduring will. He imagined the quiet life that awaited him. The early mornings, cool and fresh, filled with the promise of honest work. The satisfying ache of muscles after a day's labor. The peaceful evenings, gathered by the hearth, sharing stories and laughter. He imagined the laughter of children, the contentment of a well-lived life, the simple, profound joys that were the true treasures of existence. He reached the boundary of his land, a weathered stone marker half hidden by tall grasses. A feeling of profound belonging washed over him, a sense of being rooted, of being exactly where he was meant to be. He stood for a moment, breathing deeply, filling his lungs with the clean, fresh air of his own domain. It tasted of freedom and peace. He walked up the familiar track, the soft earth yielding under his boots. The farmhouse appeared through the trees, its silhouette strong and proud against the deepening twilight sky. A wisp of smoke curled lazily from the chimney, a welcoming plume against the deepening blue. His heart swelled with emotion, a powerful wave of gratitude and joy. He was home. His loyal farmhands, their faces etched with the strain of their own quiet worries, met him at the threshold. Their expressions were beaming, their smiles breaking through the weariness. They had heard the news, the whispered word carried on the wind, confirming his victory. They embraced him warmly, their rough hands clapping him on the back, sharing his joy as if it were their own. "Welcome home, master," one said, his voice thick with emotion, a tremor of relief. "The land is truly yours, by right and by grace." Another nodded in agreement, his eyes shining with pride, reflecting the deep respect they held for him. Ottar smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that reached his eyes. "Yes," he said simply, his voice a little hoarse with emotion. "It is truly ours." He looked around, taking in the small, familiar details. He saw the preparations, the tools neatly stacked, the stored feed. The fields, stretching out into the twilight, were ready for planting. for the promise of a new season. The barns were well stocked, a testament to their enduring efforts. The next days passed in a blur of activity, a whirlwind of newfound purpose. There was much to do, to repair, to sow, to plan. And there was much to celebrate, the quiet triumph echoing in every task. The farm buzzed with activity, a vibrant hum of renewed life, of hope taking root and flourishing. He walked his fields every morning, the cool dew soaking his boots. He felt the rich, dark soil crumbling between his fingers, smelling its earthy promise. He saw the potential for growth, for new life, in every clod of earth. He planned for the harvest, for the abundance that would soon fill his barns. He dreamed of golden grain, of plump vegetables, of a future overflowing with sustenance. He spent hours in the barns, the scent of hay, and animals a comforting presence. He checked on his animals, his cattle, his sheep, his chickens, their soft lowing and clucking a soothing symphony. He tended to their needs with care and dedication, ensuring their health was vital, knowing their well-being was his priority, for they were the lifeblood of his farm. He worked alongside his farmhands, their shared labor forging an even deeper bond. He shared their meals, simple but hearty, eaten around a rough-hewn table. He shared their laughter, their quiet jokes, the camaraderie that came from shared purpose. They were more than just workers, they were a family, a community bound by shared toil and shared dreams. The farm, once threatened by greed and deceit, began to flourish under his devoted care. The crops grew tall and strong, their emerald green blades reaching for the sun. The livestock prospered, their numbers increasing, their coats sleek and healthy. The stream flowed clear and strong, its waters singing a constant, gentle song, a testament to his efforts and to Freyja's enduring blessing. The story of Hildisvíni, the faithful boar, became a legend, whispered around hearths on cold winter nights. It was told to children, their eyes wide with wonder, a tale of courage, of unwavering loyalty, of devotion that transcended the ordinary. His sacrifice was remembered not with sorrow, but with profound reverence. People spoke of Ottar's bravery, of his quiet strength in the face of overwhelming odds. They spoke of his unwavering faith, not just in the gods, but in the inherent rightness of truth. They spoke of Freyja's aid, her divine intervention, a powerful reminder of the gods' presence in their lives, a testament to their justice and their benevolent watchfulness. Years turned into decades, each one bringing new growth, new blessings. Ottar lived a long life, a peaceful life, filled with purpose and quiet contentment. His farm, now known as Hildisvíni's Rest, thrived, a haven of tranquility and prosperity, a living monument to his victory. His children grew, learning the ways of the land from his gentle guidance. They learned the value of truth, the importance of honest work, the enduring strength of honor. They carried on his legacy, their hands tilling the same fertile soil, their hearts filled with the same quiet devotion. The memory of Hreidmar faded, his malice consumed by the passage of time. His greed was dismissed, a cautionary whisper in old tales. He became a forgotten shadow, a fleeting darkness that had once threatened to blot out the light. But the legend of Freyja and Hildisvini endured, a quiet legend, a comforting legend. It spoke of hope, of divine intervention, of the triumph of good over evil, a gentle reminder that even in the darkest times, truth would prevail. Ottar often sat by the stream, his hands resting on his knees, watching the water flow, its ceaseless movement a metaphor for life itself. He felt if these whispers brought you rest, you're welcome to subscribe for more calm tales. A gentle, like also guides fellow night owls here.